Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So I made a video last year about what would happen if Dudley Dursley went to Hogwarts, and I worked out how his first year would go in the school. It went down really well with you all, so I decided to finish his story and make the entire 7-year series discussing the changes and what would really happen if Dudley actually completed his full education at Hogwarts. Now I've done year 1 and you can check that out from the link in the description below, but today is all about year 2. Dudley is back. Ladies and gents, welcome back to his journey. Dudley Dursley and the Chamber of Secrets. It happens now. Enjoy. Guys, before we start, I'd like to talk about today's sponsor, Surfshark. This company have continued to sponsor me throughout these difficult times, so I'd be very appreciative if you kept watching and hear what I've got to say, as this product is really beneficial for you all. Surfshark offer you an incredibly powerful VPN to protect your internet privacy. In today's computer age, hackers are constantly trying to gain access to your bank account details, your social media passwords, and access to your personal information, amongst many other things. This can all be prevented when browsing under Surfshark's protection. Not only does it protect your privacy, it also offers you a lot more. Different countries have different viewing restrictions on what content can be viewed. Therefore, by logging into a VPN based in another country, you can gain access to that content that may be blocked in the country that you live in. For example, for those of you who've always wanted to watch the full 8 Harry Potter movies on Netflix, but haven't been able to in your own country, you can simply select Turkey on your Surfshark VPN location and have full access to every single one of them. It's that simple. As I've mentioned, Surfshark have been sponsoring this channel for over a year, and they've given some great deals in the past, but this one is by far the best. If you join Surfshark today, you'll get 83% off, 3 extra months for free. You'll also be able to use Surfshark on as many devices as you like, there's no limits, and finally, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. Basically, if you're not happy, if you're not satisfied, then your money will be returned. It's a no-brainer, guys. So sign up to Surfshark right now by clicking the link in the description below. Welcome back, guys, and thank you for the support of the What If series. So let's get to it. After his defeat of Voldemort and Professor Quirrell, Harry has gained even more fame after his heroics this time round, especially for being so inexperienced. Upon the cousins' return to Privet Drive, Dudley tells his mum all about his eventful year in Hogwarts and how he helped Harry save the day, even though all he really did was distract the teacher. Harry actually does acknowledge his cousin's help, and as you'd expect, Petunia makes a huge deal about her son being a hero, and scolding Harry for putting him in such a dangerous position, before sarcastically adding, "Even the great Harry Potter couldn't do it without my boy." For Vernon to add, "You mean he couldn't do it without a Dursley?" Dudley is as smug as ever, lapping up all the attention as usual, as Harry just rolls his eyes and lets his cousin have his moment. It's such a typical Dudley thing to do, believing his own hype. Anyway, just when things seem to return to normal with the boys both being back home, Dobby shows up and, as in the original timeline, warns Harry that he cannot return to Hogwarts as it's too dangerous to do so. He also says it's not safe for Dudley either, as being a close relative of Harry puts him in danger as well. This does concern Harry, as he doesn't want to see his cousin get hurt on his behalf. Dudley aggressively tells the elf that he's not stopping him going back to school, and Harry just requests if Dobby could tell him what the threat is. Now, there's many scenarios that could happen with Dobby arriving and both boys being wizards, but I'm going to stick to the original events with Vernon's potential business partner arriving and the evening pretty much being ruined thanks to Dobby's intervention. With Petunia and Vernon demanding an explanation to such ludicrous behaviour, Dudley, being a mummy's boy, would tell them everything that Dobby had just warned them about, particularly that their lives were in danger. Petunia herself would have a complete meltdown at the thought of any harm coming to her precious son, and Vernon wouldn't be too far behind it with his own comments. "You won't be going back, either of you. I won't allow it," he shouts. Harry is absolutely furious at Dudley for telling his parents, especially as they've now been banned from returning to the school. Dudley won't be bold enough to stage a breakout and make his way back to school, so he's not exactly kept prisoner. Harry's bedroom window is barred in as it was originally. The Weasleys come as they have in the original timeline also, and they're about to pull the bars off the window. Dudley would burst into Harry's room and tell them all to stop, to move the car around to his bedroom, and they can all come. Ron interrupts and says Dudley can make his own way, that they didn't come for him. Dudley begs Harry to take him, and Harry reluctantly agrees. Vernon and Petunia sleep through the whole thing and are in for a very big shock the next morning. When they arrive at the Weasleys, Molly is as welcoming as always, but is rather concerned that Dudley has directly disobeyed his parents. She sends them a letter by Owl informing them that she will take Dudley to Diagon Alley on September 1st and requests that they meet her there in order to take their son home with them, or if they wish to send him to Hogwarts themselves. Molly knows that the Dursleys aren't nice people, but she's a little more lenient with Harry from his harsh experience growing up in their household. Dudley is their son, and she has to inform his parents of his whereabouts. Dudley is also allowed to remain in the burrow until they leave for the alley, and in a responding letter to Molly, Petunia actually thanks her for contacting her and ensuring her son's well-being. The entire family make their way to Diagon Alley via the Floo network, and surprisingly enough, Dudley ends up in the right area of the alley, unlike Harry who ended up in Borgin and Burke. Petunia and Vernon are waiting at Flourish and Blotts as Dudley arrives with Molly and the rest of her family. He hugs his parents tight as Petunia sheds tears. She was worried sick about him. She's just grateful he's okay, rather than angry he left without telling her. She has a brief conversation with Molly, thanking her for what she's done, and warning her off any further association with her troublesome nephew, who's nowhere to be seen. I'm not surprised he's on the missing list once again, probably off causing some mischief. Let's just hope he doesn't get himself blown up like my sister did. Molly sternly looks at Petunia and says, "Look after your boy, Mrs. Dursley." Ron then mutters, "Told you they were awful, Mum." The Dursleys reluctantly allow Dudley to return to Hogwarts after he begins to throw a tantrum. Petunia then follows up with a letter to Dumbledore warning him that both Harry and Dudley's lives have been threatened, and her belief that a possible plot is at hand to harm Dudley at Harry's expense. Harry then sees Draco in Flourish and Blotts, and he runs into Lucius Malfoy with Dudley by his side. Lucius looks Dudley up and down, as if he's examining him, and then lifts his books from his cauldron and makes a comment on how surprised he is that a muggle-born such as Dudley has such good condition books, and slips the diary back in with him. Dudley is rather speechless as he looks at Lucius, a man who's quite intimidating at best. Because he keeps eye contact with him the whole time, he doesn't notice Lucius slipping the diary back into his cauldron. Afterwards, with both sets of parents at King's Cross Station, Dobby doesn't close the barrier as he originally did. Petunia and Vernon make sure Dudley and Harry go through, and Molly sends her children through before following them. It's too risky for the elf to close the barrier in the manner he did in the original timeline. Everyone safely boards the train to Hogwarts this time round. Nothing substantial happens on board. Harry is still pretty angry at Dudley for telling his parents about the potential danger they could be placed in. He's already watched and followed by enough people, and now there's possibly more attention placed on him. As the students all return to Hogwarts, Harry is excited about getting back to Quidditch. Dudley would have been quite jealous of Harry's role in the team, given that he's in no way as athletic as his cousin, nor will he ever be. Still, Dudley has always dreamed of being a Quidditch star for the Gryffindor team. With Gilderoy Lockhart becoming the new defense against the Dark Arts teacher, Dudley was worse than Hermione Granger for obsessing over him. But all the things he's done, the creatures he's fought, the spells he must know, Dudley would say. During the first and only dueling club lesson, Dudley took so much pleasure out of seeing his cousin get struck by Draco's offensive attack, especially Harry's landing. He goes on to add that he always knew there was something strange about his cousin when Harry spoke Parseltongue for the first time in front of the entire year, and that even his mum said it too. With the diary in his possession, Dudley soon discovers that it replies back to him. As Ginny Weasley did in the previous timeline, Dudley begins telling the diary how difficult it is being a cousin of Harry Potter, and how he thinks his mum plays up to the smallest of his achievements. He goes on to add that even though he knows what his mum is doing, it still makes him feel better. He doesn't know why he's mean to Harry so much of the time, he just is. The diary plays up to Dudley's feelings, appearing understanding and wanting to know more about what Dudley feels. The boy also tells the diary that he wants to be the leader of Gryffindor and show Harry what it's like to be in someone else's shadow, failing to understand that Harry didn't actually want anyone in his shadow. Harry just wanted to be normal. The purpose of the diary is to draw the magic and life out of the writer, and this begins to work quite fast on Dudley. He's the one who writes the message on the wall about the Chamber of Secrets being reopened. As the students become petrified and Dumbledore is removed from his position along with Hagrid being sent to Azkaban, it becomes apparent that Lucius's plan was to publicly embarrass Harry, and what better way than having his own cousin be responsible for opening the Chamber of Secrets and unleashing its monster upon the unworthy. It seems a lot more scandalous than Ginny Weasley discrediting Arthur, if you ask me. Dudley seems to be the perfect candidate because he's Muggle-born, which makes him very high risk to be petrified, so there's not a lot of people who are going to suspect him of doing anything out of sort. Harry was also still believed to be the heir of Slytherin, so the focus was still on him. The thing is, however, as Dudley didn't know he was being controlled by the diary, he was actually terrified of the monster of Slytherin, and he wouldn't leave the common room most days. I think it's quite an interesting view of his character. He's consciously afraid of the monster he's subconsciously allowing out of the chamber. It was only when another student mentioned it to Harry that Dudley was seen walking the halls in a trance-like state, just ignoring people, did he realise that something wasn't right with his cousin. Harry rushed to the common room bedroom and looked through Dudley's belongings, coming across the diary with the name Tom Marvolo Riddle on the front cover. When writing it, he would be taken back into Tom Riddle's memory and would see what happened as he originally did, with Hagrid being framed and Myrtle Warren's body being removed from the school. So that means the story with Ron and Harry finding Lockhart and going down to the chamber happens as it normally did, because it's still the same layout, but with Dudley in it. Harry is shocked beyond belief to find that his cousin Dudley is lying there, ice cold and almost drained of life, just as we seen Ginny was. Tom Riddle reveals himself to Harry as he had and informs him of his disgust at having to associate himself with a filthy Muggleborn. He does go on to say that he had great pleasure siphoning the magic Dudley stole out of his body and into his. He should have never had the magic in his blood in the first place, and this was the perfect way for Voldemort to restore his own power, taking Dudley's life along with his magic. So as we know, Harry kills the basilisk, then the phoenix tears and saves the day. We know all that. Dudley wakes up in the infirmary and is looked upon as a hero, even though he remembers absolutely nothing that happened. Upon Dumbledore and Hagrid's return, Dudley claims responsibility for playing a part, fabricating the risk he took in the events that had happened. With that being said, everyone, that is Dudley Dursley's second year in Hogwarts done and dusted. I really hope you enjoyed it because I put a ton of work into it. I did not want to cover every single nook and cranny of the book, but you know, just the overall concept fitting Dudley in. So make sure to look out for Dudley's third year at Hogwarts coming in the next couple of days. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the very next video. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your support. Everyone, notifications of uploads are more important than ever, so please, if you haven't already, turn those notifications on to make sure you're notified the moment my video goes live. Making videos is what I love to do, it's my dream and my passion. However, it does cost time and money to produce this content, so if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDNJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore. Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.